The fight for survival is a very interesting one. In a lot of mediums, that fight for survival is also the person fighting for or against destiny and fate itself. Sometimes we choose the path that we walk. Other times, it's placed upon us. And in this situation, a person has to fight for survival or die. This is my thoughts on A Plague's Tale: Innocence. The first hour and 45 minutes of this game was very interesting to me. Part of it was due to the fact that I had to relearn the way I approach looking at games. Part of my problem that I had was that I was referring it and referencing and constantly comparing it to The Last of Us. And there are certain similarities there. Not a lot, but just enough to make me think, hey, this just feels like an indie version of The Last of Us, right? You have a main character that's an older figure that has a younger figure that they don't really have a connection with. They have to travel across large distances because the younger person has an infection of some kind that can change the balance of power in the world, right? Then you also have to scavenge for resources. And if you don't scavenge for resources, you must go stealthy. And if it's just there, right? You know, like that's where the similarities end. But for some weird reason, I was just getting those vibes a lot, right? Now, things that I noticed that are extremely different is there is no get out of jail free card with the combat, right? You will get immediately destroyed if you get caught. And that's the thing that I had to relearn, is that when it comes to stealth games, you're supposed to be overpowered when you're hidden. But when you're in front, when you're out in the open, when you're exposed, you are weak as hell. And that's something that, again, I personally need to change the way I think, because a lot of games that I've played, mainly in the AAA space, they have combat and stealth mechanics, but I really sucked at a lot of stealth games, right? Or I would suck at those specific stealth mechanics. And I would play as the main character and I have all the plot armor and I would just get out of jail free card with the combat, right? But this game really showed you that, look, you have to think. And even in the beginning, when everything is purely simple, it's very simple, ways of just stealthing, right? You're throwing objects in one area to distract somebody so you can move into another location, and that's pretty much it, right? There isn't too many combat sections, there's a light level of puzzles, but because I was constantly referring this game and comparing it to something else, I truly didn't understand the stealth aspect, and I kept getting frustrated because I'm like, okay, instead of me having to do all this, let me just speed this up, let me just run past and get to the next section. And that was something that I had to like unlearn in a sense. And in my honest opinion, if I didn't understand that stealth is overpowered when hidden, weak as hell when exposed, I probably would have refunded the game after playing the first hour and 45 minutes. A Plague's Tale: Innocence was a game that was recommended by a subscriber on twitch.tv/AOP_productions. That is going to be the best place where you could recommend a game for me to become a My Thoughts or a review. I also have a small Discord server if you want to be able to chat with me and the community about all things gaming. And finally, are enjoying this video, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. It shows me that you guys are interested in seeing me make more content like this, and as well as appease the YouTube gods. Thank you very much, and let's get on with the video. When continuing the game, it opens up a lot more. Bigger puzzles and more open-ended environments. Having more items and tools to use for dealing with enemies and tasks. And if you've upgraded some of your gear or options, you will be able to do and gather more. Now, one thing that I have seen that is impossible is to continue playing this game without getting a single kill. You aren't able to completely avoid killing or combat at all. I haven't experienced a scenario where you can completely avoid enemies throughout the entire game without engaging in combat. There are boss fights and what I deem as kill rooms. For those who don't know, kill rooms in video games are areas in the game where you're not allowed to progress to any area unless you eliminate every enemy in the room. So, for anybody who wants to have a run of the game where you don't have the teenage main character or her 5-year-old brother stack up a human death toll, you are shit out of luck. Even though the circumstances sort of demand other people's deaths for your survival and progression. The idea of being able to scare enemies during rat sections and completely sneak away during those areas would have been very interesting, to say the least. However, you will have boss fights that require the death of the enemy for you to continue. Your first kill in the game is a man who is causing a witch hunt, attempting to kill you and your brother, then encounters you at the church and literally wants you to kill him.
What's the matter? You're scared of killing someone all of a sudden? Even if they're begging you to do it.
And I feel if the game kept you as the 14-year-old girl killing people exclusively to boss fights, I think it would have been a much more interesting dynamic, especially later on. I got very confused with this game about halfway through when it came to the Inquisition. I don't know if ASOBO Studio were making this game and were focusing it as a one-off or planning on making a sequel or even a trilogy perhaps. But I feel that the switch for me went from a stealth mystery game to a political thriller because they give you the Inquisition and Vitalis and they kind of give you all of that information. And I feel that if with a tad bit of reworking, you could have set up the Inquisition as a constant villain going after Amicia and Hugo and the core cast of characters that she had. And you could have made it in a very compelling way where you actually understand and might even justify what the Inquisition is doing. But they kind of made it where it's just a generic pursuit of power and this person wanted the power that Hugo had. And it was a little weird because I kind of wanted to keep that mystery of, hey, we just have this very powerful organization trying to kill us. We don't know why, but we must fight to survive. And I found that very, very interesting starting out. But then when you learn about the Inquisition and that they're an arm of the church and that Vitalis is acting on his own and stuff of that nature, I was just like, it kind of was giving me that Tomb Raider reboot vibe, but in the second game when you're dealing with Trinity and they become the bad guys of the third game as well. And I really do think that the Inquisition being changed from just a, power-hungry leader with his loyal followers into an arm of the church that has dealt with the curse of the macula in the past. And not only that, but it's a secret organization that's trying to prevent its existence due to the damage it has caused. And not only that, but you getting rid of the carrier of the virus so it no longer spreads and leads to more death and destruction. But when you're dealing with the Inquisition and you're going through the territories they've been through, they're just a mean dictatorship that people must listen to or die. And it just felt a little generic with me because imagine the Inquisition is going after Hugo de Rune, but then you find out that the father has been going around and in sort of a rage to save his son has been killing a lot of people. And the Inquisition is understandable and doesn't try to kill the father, but instead the father of Amicia and Hugo die in self-defense because the Inquisition was just trying to defend themselves. And you could have done something where you would have showcased that, hey, maybe Amicia's family and the people protecting Amicia are in the wrong. And maybe they're trying to take Hugo's power and use it as a way to usurp people. Well, again, you could have did a play on that, right? But the Inquisition works as a bad guy, as a target, as somebody that you're supposed to go after. But I would have been very interested to see the reverse of, like, Hugo's parents kept Hugo away from Amicia because they were going to use him as a tool to gain power. I think that would have been a very interesting twist later on. But again, I think the Inquisition, hopefully they're in the sequel, but the Inquisition with the reworking could have been a justifiable person or entity at odds with Amicia, because Amicia just wants to survive in the protection of her brother, and the Inquisition needs Hugo to, needs to contain Hugo so the damage that he could cause if people use him the wrong way doesn't become disastrous. But wishful thinking, and I can't wait to see what happens in the sequel. The game genuinely surprises me after going beyond the initial hour and 45 minutes. The more beautiful environments in the day or night, whether it's outdoors at night in the empty castle, or the inside of your house after surviving the incoming swarm of rats. It feels as if the team focused on feeling like we were transported to 14th century France, and it shows. Unreal Engine 4 with Quixel Megascans really shine here, and ASOBO Studio uses those tools extremely well. I was very hesitant getting into this game. I will review this game, and I will be giving my thoughts on the sequel. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the video today. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on A Plague's Tale 1 or 2? Are you interested to see my review on this game? Well, I'm going to leave it here. Please be safe, please be well, and make sure that you're always on point.